My big pigeon story is when I first moved to Chicago. I was on the top floor of an apartment, and just above me, there like on the roof, there was like all this chicken wire assembled. Like, I don't know what was happening, but it basically ended up being a pigeon coop. And every day was filled with the sounds of like like a turkey on many drugs, and it was very annoying. And then our little porch would be covered in pigeon poop. So I was that person who got a fake owl to try to scare them, and they were...
Did it work?
No, they're city pigeons. They were like, what is that thing? I don't know what that is. I don't know if it was actually poop or if it was left over from something else. You know, kudos to them. They saw an opportunity, they took it. But it definitely, you know, and somehow I didn't notice it when I first looked at the apartment. But yeah, they, that constant sound could really drive a person over the edge. So I think after that, my opinions of pigeons lessened after that. Many other birds I like very much, but pigeons a little less so.
Section 132 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Pigeons. Killing or frightening. Whoever willfully kills pigeons upon, or frightens them from, beds which have been made for the purpose of taking them in nets, by any method, within 100 rods of the same, except on land lawfully occupied by himself, shall be punished by imprisonment for not more than 1 month, or by a fine of not more than $20, and shall also be liable for the actual damages to the owner or occupant of such beds.
Yeah, what I'm most curious about is if people actually eat them. In the past, every bird was seen as food or something. So somebody gave me a birding book, and it's like useful uses of backyard birds. And my question is why have they been so successful in the city versus the mourning dove? Why the rock pigeon or the rock dove? I don't know. Maybe because their color blends in with the city. My dad used to tell me that they're covered in tar and dirt. That's why they're that color. You know, because I imagined if you washed them all off, they would look like that, reflective all over the place. But no, that's not true either.
Unless the state and federal governments come to the rescue of American game, plumed and songbirds, the not distant future will witness the practical extinction of some of the most beautiful and valuable species. The wild passenger pigeon, 50 years ago, was so common in the United States that during migratory periods, the flocks that crossed the country sometimes dulled the sun from the view of the man below. Today, a standing reward of $300 is offered to any person who can show a nesting pair of these birds. New York Times, January 16, 1910.
I'm just annoyed by their sound. Like, if they cooed a little bit nicer. Or had, like, different variations, so not just the same sound over and over. They're just annoying. I don't think that they're... Like, I don't get disgusted by them. I think they're curious creatures. And they, you know, they have their own way of going about, and it's just the sound. This is so annoying. I also have them on my air conditioning. So in my bedroom, you hear the on my air conditioning, and it's just like, go away. I want to sleep. I don't want to. So it's just their sound pollution, basically.
Advice from the Boston Public Health Commission. Routine cleaning of droppings, for example, from windowsills, does not pose a serious health risk to most people. Some simple precautions should be taken to further reduce direct contact with droppings, such as wearing disposable gloves and washing clothes after contact with droppings. Dry droppings should be wet down before scraping, as you want to avoid inhaling the dropping dust. Those working in enclosed areas with the risk of inhaling pigeon droppings should wear a mask to protect themselves from airborne exposure to droppings.
They're rats with wings. They were never revered for squab. No idea. SQUAB? Squab. I wouldn't eat that. Wood pigeon, I would absolutely eat. That's fine. But an urban pigeon, no way. It's poison. There's so much lead in it. And any ones that are fed on crappy leftover human food are going to be crappy as well. So, yeah.
G.I. Joe is the most outstanding military pigeon in history and is credited with saving the lives of at least 1,000 British troops during World War II. The British 56th Brigade was scheduled to attack the city of Colvi Vecchia, Italy, at 10 a.m. October 18, 1943. The U.S. Air Support Command was scheduled to bomb the city to soften the entrance for the British Brigade. The Germans retreated, leaving only a small rear guard, and as a result, the British troops entered the city with little resistance and occupied it ahead of schedule. All attempts to cancel the bombing of the city, made by radio and other means of communication, had failed. Little G.I. Joe was released with the important message to cancel the bombing. He flew 20 miles back to the U.S. Air Support Command base in 20 minutes and arrived just as our planes were warming up to take off. If he had arrived a few minutes later, it might have been a different story. General Mark Clark, commanding the U.S. Fifth Army, estimated that G.I. Joe saved the lives of at least 1,000 of our British allies. In November 1946, G.I. Joe was shipped from Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, to London, England, where he was cited and awarded the Dickon Medal for Gallantry by the Lord Mayor of London. G.I. Joe is the only bird or animal in the United States to receive this high award.
Feeding animals is fun. I like to feed pigeons. Throwing food and just watch them fight over it. Watch them, But yeah, I think they're home is where the food's at. They have to survive. So. Where there's people, there's food.
To keep away pigeons, they put up those spikes, and the pigeons just end up using that to build their nest. So they put these new things on. You can just see the top of them on the ledge. It's just like a flat disc that they said there's a mirror on top. And it's been working because, like, the pigeon is about to land and it sees the reflection or some kind of movement and it flies away. And then they also put some inside those containers so the pigeons haven't been nesting. The reason they don't want them to nest is because they want this to be a nice alley where they could put out, like, when it's really hard to clean, But they came to me and they were like, "What should we do? We're like at our wits' end. We're gonna like poison them." And I'm like, "Well, poisoning's not the solution because there are 100 pigeons that want to move into these penthouses, right? If they die, there'll be another set of pigeons moving in right away." And it's also just not nice to do. And they're a natural solution. So we installed a kestrel box on the roof, hoping a kestrel might move in, because I've seen kestrels come here and try to get into the boxes. So if they come by and they see the nice box that's open, this is the time of year the kestrel would settle in and start laying eggs.
After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth, so it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth.
Everything carries diseases. The food we eat has a bunch of diseases. Like there's a lot of things that, yeah, for me it's just the noise. That's my main concern.
Maybe the pigeons of the future won't
Or mute.
Well, they seem to adapt to our specifications, so maybe the quieter ones will survive.
I think they're funny. The way they walk, just watching them interact with each other is hilarious. Like they bob their head and then they turn around like several times and then they, doing their pigeon dance.
Columba livia's evolution has been tied to ours since we first began to carve cities into the hills and mountains of ancient Mesopotamia. In the not-so-distant past, she helped us fight wars against each other, carrying messages faster than any human technology could. As globalization has gripped the world, our racing pigeons have acted as analog ways for humans to connect across man-made borders. Pigeons have even helped us to develop our current understanding about genetics and evolution, thanks to the hobby of fancy pigeon breeding. But how will humans affect the appearance, behavior, and environment of the pigeon of the future? She will no doubt continue to adapt to the ever-changing world around her. A world we are warming up, overcrowding, and choking out more rapidly every day. But Columba livia is tenacious and determined. Short of a mass hunting to extinction event akin to the fate of the passenger pigeon, she will continue to coexist with us in cities throughout the world. Because she spends so much time on the ground, maybe her feet will begin to fuse like ours did millions of years ago, and she will be more comfortable on the pavement than in a tree. As the temperatures rise, perhaps she will lose the feathers around her face and feet like the vultures living in Death Valley. Maybe her beak will grow longer and larger, enabling blood to circulate closer to the surface like the toucans of the Amazon. It's possible that she will even become nocturnal, occupying the city when it is cooler and less overcrowded with humans. Perhaps, in the end, she will turn a brilliant white, like Noah's dove, and reflect the violent sun, and remind us humans that we owe her a certain amount of respect and gratitude for her contributions to our society.